Welcome to the Talk Sox podcast. I'm Alex, and as always, I'm joined by Maddie. What's going on?
Hello. Well, you have the start of the school year tomorrow.
Yes, we all staff reports tomorrow, and then students report a week from tomorrow. So, about to hit a very, very busy time.
Do you get new decorations for your classroom every year?
No.
No.
No, my classroom's pretty basic. I've got like some things that students have given me, and like things I've drawn, like thank you notes and stuff hung up behind my desk. I've got a 3D Fenway Park behind my desk, and I've got a Red Sox flag, and that's about it. I've got a couple of Star Wars things around the room, a couple of Doctor Who things, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends who are teachers, and they always get excited about the start of the new school year because they can change the decorations in their rooms.
I've got a couple people in my department that are like that. That's not me. I'm not a very like decorative person. I don't have a good eye for that. So, so I just kind of leave it be. And if I see something I like, I buy it. And if not, which I haven't in a while, nothing new gets added. So, like always, we are kicking off. We're recording this during the first game of the Diamondbacks series. I've got kids stomping around above my head, so if you hear some extra noise, that's what's going on above me tonight. It was my daughter's first soccer practice today, so she's very excited. As of this moment, it's the bottom of the fifth, and it's 7-0 Red Sox, which is great, especially after the last couple of series. But like always, we are going to start with our Talk Sox forum questions. We have quite a few this week. So thank you to everybody who has commented, and we will, keep doing this every week. We were actually joking earlier that we think that this whole episode may just be some of these questions because there are a lot of really good questions. So our first one, we have 4 from MVP 78. The first one says, this is a Maddie question. What's your preference between the hard hit calculations of Statcast and Fangraphs, baseball info solutions based? I know that Fangraphs list both, which can be a little confusing when you look at a player's history like Jarren Durant's. So where do you stand on that, Maddie?
So I can give a brief history of Statcast and then the baseball info solutions, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Statcast originally tracked like pitch speed, spin rate, pitch movement, exit velocity, arm strength with 2 systems, the TrackMan Doppler radar and Chiron Higo cameras in the 2010s. Mm-hmm. And then in 2020, the Hawkeye system was introduced. And Hawkeye is now owned by Sony. And Hawkeye is just a more advanced system. And there are 12 Hawkeye cameras strategically placed in each MLB ballpark. And they use triangulation to capture data. And these are really high-tech cameras that run at like 300 frames per second.
Okay.
And a hard hit ball, according to Statcast, is any ball hit at least 95 miles per hour. And that's the threshold. Very smart people found that any ball above that, the WOBA jumps like exponentially. Then for Sports Info Solutions, they're a company based out of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, in the Lehigh Valley, and they Baseball Info Solutions is under their whole umbrella. I'm pretty sure they do stuff for the NBA and NFL too.
Okay.
Like collecting data, and Baseball Info Solutions formula is a little more complicated, and it's also proprietary. So we don't know the specifics. Other than that, it looks at hang time, general trajectory, and location. And its metrics are listed as soft percent, medium percent, and hard percent on Fangraphs. And I pulled up the qualified players hard hit rate with both metrics. And I mean, Duran's is 39.7% with Statcast, And then for Sports Info Solutions or Baseball Info Solutions, it's 40.6.
Okay.
The biggest difference was with Wilson Contreras. He posted a higher hard hit rate, 44.9 versus 36.5 with Sports Info Solutions.
Interesting.
So really it's up to, I mean, each Statcast is well regarded, so is Sports Info Solutions. So I mean, it's just up to personal preference. I don't want to say there isn't that much of a difference because there is for some players. I don't want to get into the weeds of things. Just I mean, Baseball Savant is convenient because it's right there. It's tied with the pitch by pitch game day log, and but I mean, it's fun to compare if you want to really, really, really just dive into a player's data quality of contact data.
I think it's so like you see this with like Fangraphs, and just like on base stats. You see this with like Fangraphs and BREF. You know that they're like they calculate their WAR differently and everything. Like I just think it's so interesting and stuff that's kind of above my head just because I haven't spent a lot of time with it. Just trying to figure out like why they're calculated so differently. Because I think right now, if you look at Wilyer Abreu's B WAR, it's at like 5.2, and if you look at Fangraphs, it's like 3.4, which is a significant difference. So it makes me wonder if BREF is calculating something wrong, or if Fangraphs is calculating something wrong. But as of when I checked earlier, like when you dive into hard hit stuff and you've got two different ways of looking at it, like I think that I understand why it's confusing for a lot of people. You know, we get people like us here at Talk Sox. A lot of us are big into stats and stuff. Like there are some people that give stat heads a bad name just because they don't quite understand what's going on. But I think that your explanation was really, really good, and hopefully that clears things up for a lot of people.
Yeah, the sports information economy is just crazy. I mean, everybody's coming up with their own metrics now, and Baseball References WAR, I think, is a little inflated compared to Fangraphs.
I usually go F WAR.
Yeah, I mean, I like WARP too from a baseball perspective. That's a little more conservative, but the players at the top, like I think that tells you who's had a good season overall.
Yeah, I agree. Our second question from MVP, and this is one that's very topical with information that came out earlier today. It says, I know they're in a playoff race, but should they have Roman, Story, and IKF have lengthy rehab stints to come back at 100% or get back earlier to replace underperforming or injured players? So about 2 hours ago is when it came out that Trevor Story could potentially be back as soon as Friday. Obviously, Roman Anthony doesn't start his rehab assignment until the day this drops, Tuesday. IKF starts it on Wednesday. So they're not targeting a Friday return. As we've seen with Romy Gonzalez, who's currently with the Woo Sox, and even Adley, I think that they've abbreviated their rehab stints, and it with Romy, it did him a huge disservice. Adley is floundering. It's not the right word, but he looks very uncomfortable at the plate. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's not just the abbreviated rehab start. It's obviously the trade and coming off the injury and a whole new clubhouse and environment and everything. There's a lot on his plate right now. But I do think that they should probably not take the full 20 days for all of them, because that would be early mid-September before they're ready to come back. But I think they need to spend some time in the minor leagues and see what happens. See if they can get things figured out there instead of hoping that they get things figured out at the major league level.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, let's talk about Story. I think Story was really pushing to be activated by Friday.
That's been his thing. He's done that with every injury that he's had. He's pushed to come back a lot. Not a lot earlier, but earlier than anticipated.
Mm-hmm. Whereas I don't think Roman would do that.
No, I don't think so either. I think that one, Anthony is young, quite a bit younger than
Mhm.
Story, and he knows that he's got a long career ahead of him. Um, Story realistically has just a handful of seasons left. IKF has realistically a handful of seasons left. Um, so I can see both of them pushing to come back early. But I think, especially with Anthony, considering everything that he went through at the start of the season, um, all the pressure that was placed on him, he was kind of heralded as the savior of the Red Sox going into the season. And then he got hurt and they were still bad. And then he wasn't there for like the double winning streaks. And now that they've kind of hit the skids again, he's potentially coming back and is hopefully not looked at as the savior of the Red Sox again, but could very potentially be looked at as the savior of the Red Sox again. And I think that's just a lot for him this season. So for his own sake, I hope that that's not happening. But I would like to see him spend at least a week and a half um, in Worcester, or his case is Portland right now, which I think it was on Section 10 today. They were talking about that. And with Story and IKF already at Worcester, they didn't want to send Roman to Worcester and have three rehabbing people at the same location. So they didn't mess up what's going on down there. Um, so that's like what we're looking. That's why he's in Portland. I figure that once Story does come up, we'll see Roman go to Worcester as well. And get some swings off of a little bit higher quality pitching than he's going to see in Double A.
What do you think about him batting leadoff immediately upon his return?
I think with the way the roster is constructed right now, it makes sense. You're not going to hit him third over a guy like Willier right now. You're not going to hit him fourth over a guy like Wilson right now. Adley's hitting sixth tonight, which I like.
Mhm.
I think that makes sense. Obviously, he's been pushing quite a bit when he's up higher in the lineup. And so I don't disagree with Roman leading off when he's back. Next season, hopefully, the leadoff hitter has been addressed in a different way, and Roman can slide to that 2-3-5 hole. But I don't think it's a bad idea. And if he can get on base, obviously before the power surge came last year, he was walking a ton. So if he can get on base, then the guys behind him can drive him in. And I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, yeah.
His power doesn't need to be in the leadoff spot, but I think this year that's where it makes the most sense with how the roster is currently constructed.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they need a true leadoff hitter, but that's an off season
Yeah.
acquisition.
Let's see. Our next question deals with Johan Oviedo, a name that we haven't heard in quite some time. It says, has there been a Johan Oviedo update since mid-July? I'm guessing no news is bad news, a la Cutter Crawford, and that's kind of where I'm at too. It's really tough. Like he was not good at any point before he went on the injured list. So it's not a huge loss, but obviously we need pitching right now. Really, you trust two starters at the moment. You just trust. You really just trust Gray and Tolley. Sandoval obviously is dealing with a blister issue after that meltdown with the Pirates. Ranger is going 5 innings now, but it's not looking super sharp at the moment. Bennett has had 6 straight outings of not good starts. So, you'd like to have another arm, but Johan Oviedo isn't that arm right now. I figure he's going to kind of be on ice until after the season. The way it with the no updates that we've had positive updates about Tanner Houck, which if you'd have told me when Oviedo went on the IL that Tanner Houck would be primed to come back sooner than Johan Oviedo, I'd have said that you were crazy. But it looks like Houck will likely be back for the stretch run. Garrett Crochet is still playing flat ground toss. He's not throwing off a mound yet, but he's at 60 to 80 feet, which it's been that way for about a week and a half. There hasn't been a major update with that. So who knows? I think that if we do see Crochet at any point this season, it'll have to be out of the bullpen, which helps, but it's not where they need help at the moment. Well, they do with Slayton Whitlock on the IL. But when they come back, that's not super where they need help at the moment. But if, if Crochet is back and it's coming out of the bullpen, that's a dangerous weapon out of the bullpen. He's already said that he'd be willing to do that. So I think that we're looking at Houck and potentially Crochet back, but Oviedo, I doubt we hear from him for the rest of the season. Same thing with Cutter Crawford.
Yeah, I think he's kind of filled in the role of the new Patrick Sandoval.
Yeah.
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 And
I almost, talking about Sandoval, I almost think that you have to swap him and Bayo moving forward. Bayo has pitched incredibly well tonight. If you want to run Bayo with an opener, Gamboa obviously did well tonight. I think they should try Greg Weissert as an opener for Bayo. And if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Because if you're going to burn 2 arms in a Bayo opener situation, if he can go, 6, 7, 8 innings, or you're only going to burn 3 arms, that's what you would use during a typical starter most of the time anyway. And in a game like tonight, where at last I looked, it was 7-0. You're not going to use Chapman. You're not going to use Miller. You can use some of your low leverage arms. You can use Giovanni Moran. Wyatt Olds will probably get in this game. He was just called up today. He'll probably get in this game. It's you don't want to go into the postseason with that, which all those guys would move to the bullpen anyway. You're going to operate with a 3-man rotation in the bullpen or in the postseason. But I think that you really need to have a conversation about swapping Bayo and Sandoval in the rotation, whether that be Bayo with an opener or try him as a starter, see what happens. If he melts down in the first inning, but then gets Zach together, you can live with that if you're scoring runs. So I don't know, but I'm kind of over the Patrick Sandoval experiment.
Yeah, I think we'll get to Adley then, just with Sandoval in his recent start. I don't want to get too. I mean, there's another question to talk about Adley.
Real quick before we get into, because we've talked about, I mentioned Ranger. He and Adley do not seem to be on the same page at all.
There was a lot of palpable tension during Rangers' outing on earlier last week.
Yeah, I've mentioned it in our podcast chat. He was shaking Adley off a lot. Adley goes out and talks to pitchers in between every innings when they're walking back, which I love. But you wonder if you're going to see Connor Wong start catching Ranger, because Adley and Sonny Gray worked beautifully together, whereas Connor has been Sonny's catcher all season.
I think it was literally right after the trade was or after Adley came to Boston, Sonny was talking his ear off in the dugout.
Yeah, that was
that was so funny.
Yeah. You could definitely tell Adley was just like, yep, But I mean, it maybe worked.
yeah. And Sonny's also just a veteran. He's used to throwing to different guys. I wasn't too concerned about him.
Yeah. I actually want to skip MVP's last question because it's my favorite question that was submitted. And I want to do it last. So we're going to jump to um, Five Gold Gloves posted. This might be his first podcast forum submission. So I appreciate that. Always keep asking questions. I like this question. We kind of touched on it a minute ago, but he said we've seen both the offense and pitching struggle lately. What, in your informed opinions, can either or both be attributed to attempts at adjustments by a certain badly rushed man?
Um,
Excellent wordplay. Yes,
yeah,
love that. Love that.
great nickname. Oh,
Can we start with pitching? Because
I have all the game logs up.
okay, Sonny and Tolley have been great. I'm not worried about them. Those are your game 1, game 2 starters in the postseason. Ideally, Ranger Suarez will be your game 3 starter. Bennett moves to the bullpen. Bayo is still in the bullpen. I think the issue with the pitching, we've got a couple of different things. We've got Jake Bennett, who has gone past his innings limit, even though he will tell you, as he did after his last start, that's not that big a deal for him. He's past his career innings. He sets every inning he throws from here through the end of the season is a new career best for him. We saw Peyton Tolley run out of gas last season when he was called up late in the season. So far, this hasn't been a problem this year for him, and I don't think it will be. But with Bennett, I think that we're looking at an innings issue. His command is pretty fluky right now. Just seems like he can't get around his secondary pitches. And really, was that yesterday? No, that was the Friday game was Jake Bennett. It was Bennett, Gray, Sandoval. The Friday game was Jake Bennett. He really became a 2-pitch pitcher in that game. He was really only throwing fastballs and changeups. They scrapped all of his off-speed stuff or all of his breaking stuff. And I wonder if that was by design to protect his arm or if that was just a way for him to be like, these are the only 2 pitches I trust. So this is what we're going to roll with. The issue with that is this is professional baseball. If you're offering a fastball and a changeup, they're just going to sit on one and spit on everything else. And that's exactly what happened to him. So hopefully that's not anything that he continues doing. But I think that's his biggest issue. I think with Ranger, he probably should have spent more time on the IL or at least had a rehab start or 2, which is a common theme this season with Red Sox returning from injury, including Adley Rutschman. I'm not worried about Ranger for the postseason, but I would like to see more than 5 innings, at least a couple, 3 times between here and the end of the season. He got up to 85 pitches on Saturday, so that's good, but it was 85 over 5. That's a lot of pitches in 5 innings. Adley Rutschman, like we talked about a minute ago, I think that it was rushed. He probably should have spent a week or so with the Woo Sox. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that at the plate. And defensively, he's great, but offensively, you could tell he's pressing a lot.
Yeah, last week we talked about how we envisioned him in the 5th spot in the order. Then the next day he was put 3rd in the lineup.
Yeah.
And I think that was just too much pressure for him. He also just, you've probably seen that he just looks uncomfortable in photos, a little bit. And he's not used to all this attention. And Boston's a really, really different than Baltimore in terms of the fan base, market size. Just, I think people forget that, or some people forget about the Orioles and they focus on the Ravens. Lamar Jackson's a good quarterback, but whatever.
Yeah, and I mean the Ravens have had success far more recently than the Orioles have, and so Baltimore is a football town.
Yeah, they don't have it. Yeah, they only have 2 professional sports teams.
Yeah, and you got the University of Maryland, but or not Maryland. Duh. But I mean that is Lamar Jackson City. I'm a Ravens fan, so that is Lamar Jackson City. And then with Adley, you know, the Orioles put together this supposed like superstar pillar that with him and Holiday and Kobe Mayo and Gunnar Henderson, like these stud collegiate athletes, and it never panned out. And so you have to wonder if that is something that Adley is still trying to shake now. Now he's on a team that's got guys like Garrett Crochet and Wilson Contreras and Roman Anthony, and he's got some actual star power around him, and he's trying to adapt to that. And that sounds like an excuse, but that's a different mentality. When you've had to be the guy for the last 3 years, now all of a sudden you're going to a situation where you need to perform, but you're not the guy on the roster. It's different. It's very different. It's a different mindset completely.
I think that might help him because it would have alleviated pressure off of him.
I think in the long run it will, yes, but I think he's still trying to adapt to that mindset.
Mm-hmm. And I sent you this tweet earlier that he was used in a pregame Jimmy fund.
Yeah, he's been here for a week and a half.
Like, okay, like I mean, kudos to him for doing it, but still,
there's like, no way he knew the Jimmy Fund existed before last
week.
Today, yeah. I say last week because they've probably been like, all right, guys, we got the Jimmy Fund night coming up when we start the next homestand. Be ready for that. It's going to be sold out both nights. People are going to be all over the place. So yeah, Adley, yes, he was rushed back, but there's a multitude of other things. I saw this today. I don't remember if it was on Twitter or Threads, but I thought it was really succinct and kind of tied a nice little bow on everything. It was like we sat through 2 months of Caleb Durbin doing this exact thing before he figured out life in Boston. And while we don't have 2 months to wait for Adley Rutschman, I don't think it'll take Adley 2 months to get his feet under him. Like, there's going to be some growing pains when you are, put on a new team, especially in the middle of a season. You just got to give him time. And I think he's going to be fine. He's had some pretty good swings tonight. It hasn't resulted in much, but his swings have looked more comfortable tonight, which is great. Playing at home for the first time since the trade. He should catch Tolley tomorrow.
Wong did catch Tolley during his last start.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see what that lineup looks like.
Yeah, and people are turning on. I've seen some negative tweets. And he has to handle a new pitching staff. He's expected to be a linchpin in the lineup, like for a much larger market than he was ever used to. Like
he came from Oregon State.
Hey, go Beavers.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's great. But that you talk about, you're in the same state as Oregon, as the Ducks. Like,
you're the small, yeah.
Yeah, you're small potatoes. Yeah, you're small potatoes compared to the large potatoes that the other organization is. That's a new Spider-Man movie reference if anybody has seen it, which was really good. I highly suggest you go see it. It's very, very good. Okay, so now we've got a question from Moonslav. This is interesting because this person Wyatt Olds wasn't added to the 40, but he asked who might be added to the 40 if we need another starting pitcher. Holobets, Paez, Wehunt, or Gage Zeal. I think it's Blake Wehunt.
Yeah, I was thinking him too.
That's not a perfect fit addition, but I think out of those names, I think that Wehunt would be the name that would be the next man up. I think they're hoping that they can survive until Houck can join the bullpen and they can do some different things with Bayo and Sandoval. And it wouldn't shock me to see Sandoval wind up on the 10-day just to get through this blister, and that's where they give Bayo his opportunity, because you've got obviously Bayo through tonight. You've got Tuesday, Wednesday, off day Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You could get him to pretty much line up with Sandoval's next start and see what happens.
I think Ranger, not put him on the IL, but like have him skip a start just to recalibrate things and like give him some rest. I think that would be pretty beneficial. Because when they make the postseason, they're going to be very reliant on him.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Ranger's going to be their number 3 in the postseason. So they're going to have to figure out a way to get him to return to standard Ranger Suarez form. But out of those names, I think Blake Wehunt is probably the most likely of those 4 to be the next one up. So our final question, we're going to jump back to MVP. Our final question says, baseball writers universally love Bruce Springsteen, which is true. Every major BBWA person you talk to is a big Springsteen fan. If you could pick one artist to embody the next generation of baseball writers or podcasters, who would it be?
This is a really tough question.
Yeah, you could go so many different ways with it. Obviously, writers and podcasters it's typically a younger generation. The writers are getting younger. Podcasters are typically a younger generation. Obviously, you still have Sean McAdams, who are on, the Fenway Rundown, the Baseball Head over at Mass Live. And you've still got a bunch of, of the older generation of baseball writers who will be Springsteen fans forever. I like Springsteen. I think Springsteen's good. I'm not a huge Springsteen nerd by any means. Probably would never pay the cost to go see him, and through no fault of his own. If I'm going to pay that kind of money for some kind of ticket, it's going to be for somebody who I like a lot more than Bruce Springsteen. I told you my answer in the chat. I firmly believe that Jason Isbell is the modern day Bruce Springsteen, and just with a little different sound. And I think that people would be shocked at how many baseball affiliated people are big fans of Isbell's. Who had? There's a handful of. Yeah, Charlie Morton used an Isbell song as his entrance, called Palmetto Rose. Looks like he was using it fairly recently. Charlie Morton also used another Isbell song called Hope the High Road, which is a really, really good one. Jason Isbell is a big-time Braves fan. He's been in the Braves booth a handful of times over these last 2 seasons. So, yeah, I think my answer would be Jason Isbell / Jason Isbell in the 400 unit.
I'm younger, so and Gen Z doesn't have that many good singers now. I mean,
Sabrina Carpenter.
That stupid Cadillac commercial with him, just so annoying. But yeah, male artists, there aren't that many good ones. The men aren't doing that much. Who's that other dude? They're really basic. Alex Warren? No.
I've heard the name. I could tell you that. I don't think I've ever listened to a song, but I've heard the name.
I really don't know for Gen Z. Because as a girl, I feel like I would have a very different answer than a. So, I'll say Phoebe Bridgers in honor of her new album and leave it there.
Okay. Yeah, now that's something I'm going to have to pay attention to.
Chapel Roan.
Okay, yeah. That is one I would like to see her in concert. I think that she probably puts on a very, very good show.
Yeah, her voice is amazing.
Yeah. That's something I'm gonna have to pay attention to is who like other like baseball personalities are listening to. Because that's actually one thing that gets talked about a lot, and it's gonna probably get talked about a lot over the offseason with the lockout. Like I know Chris Smith from Mass Live just recently started playing the drums again, so that way during the lockout he could he wants to like start a band, so he has something to do to distract him from the lockout. Um, so that's something I'm gonna have to pay attention to. We're gonna have to circle back to this question in the off season. Okay, so we've got a couple more things here on the rundown. This is going to be a little bit of an abbreviated episode because we've got some things going on here at the house that I have to attend to. And like you said, I start work tomorrow. So obviously, Red Sox dropped 3 series in a row before this Diamondback series, which is going incredibly well at the moment. We'll see how it continues to go. But, a loss to the A's, the Blue Jays, and the Pirates. I said last week that it wouldn't shock me if the Red Sox swept through that series, the Blue Jays and the Pirates, because both teams were underperforming. But the Pirates had some really, really good pitching. They jumped all over Patrick Sandoval there in the last game. The middle game was fun. The shutout, the 7-0 shutout. But how concerned were you during that skid?
I was more concerned about the Blue Jays than the Pirates.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Blue Jays right now are only half a game behind in the for the third AL wildcard spot.
Yeah, which like 2 or 3 days ago, there were 5 teams tied for the third wildcard spot. That was nuts.
And the Orioles are tied with the Rangers right now, even after losing to the Rays.
Yeah.
So
the Orioles jumped out to a pretty good lead in that game today, too. So for them to turn around and lose that game to the Rays just shows you how good the Rays are again this year.
Yeah, and the Pirates have a really underrated pitching staff.
And that's without Skeens.
Yeah, without I'd say they have one of the better ones in the NL.
Yeah, and on the offensive side of it, they're third in Major League Baseball in runs scored.
Are the Nationals still one or the first?
Yeah, Nationals, Cubs, Pirates.
And the Cubs have been up and down this year too. Interesting. Yeah. So, or would you say you were too pressed with the skid?
I mean, I really wanted a split in Toronto. That I would have felt better about it. Game 1 was winnable of the Pirates series to a point. So I won't say that after the A series, I was 5% concerned. Now I'm after those 2 series, I was maybe 30% concerned. This team bought a lot of goodwill over the month of July. Month of July into the first half of August. So they had the room in the record to skid a little bit, and hopefully this Diamondback series puts the stop to that skid. Obviously, the Giants are coming into town next. There's some storylines there, but the Giants are not a good baseball team. Although they did just call up Tugboat today.
It's a cool nickname.
Yeah, we'll see if we see him. But I wasn't super worried. Obviously, you don't like to drop 3 series in a row, but at the end of the day, if they're getting their feet back under them at home, which is what I wrote that they should do, that they need to do, then I wasn't too worried about it, to be honest.
And there was no way, they could carry that record for the rest of the season.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
They were going to regress a little bit, and they did, but they still have a 5.5 game lead over the third wildcard spot, but they just shouldn't keep skidding.
Yeah, I would like to see them take this series and take the series against the Giants, because that puts you within striking distance going into that Yankees series. where you're able to maybe jump them in the standings, because I think whoever hosts the wild card game is likely going to win the wild card series. If
Yeah,
it's
and you
in
don't
Boston, I think the Red Sox win. If it's in New York, I think the Yankees probably win.
yeah, well, that's what happened last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, Fried is back on the IL too. If
I did see that right before we started recording.
I mean, and Aaron Judge, who knows where he is.
Yeah, Booney said that it was good to see Giancarlo Stanton outside and walking at one point a week or so ago. Like, it sounds like the Yankees are turning into a geriatric home.
Yeah, we're just big and slow. I mean, there was that photo of Stanton running the bases floating around last week, and it was just really, well, he's so slow. So
yeah, I do worry if he does come back, just because he hits so well at Fenway. But we'll see. The last thing on the docket, you had an excellent piece about this that went up. Alex Cora was on the Dirt from the Dugout podcast earlier this week, where it's a really good listen. If you've never listened to it, it's geared more towards, how did you get to where you're at in baseball? But just some real, like, Petey's been on it. They had Theo Epstein on, and that's where the first, like, rift between him and Craig Breslow kind of appeared. So Alex Cora went on this week, and it's only about an hour, so it's well worth your time to listen to it. Some really good stories about, him and Joey and everything, and how much he looked up to Joey, especially after his father passed. But they did get him to talk about what's next, and he told them that he would like to manage again. And then Bob Nightingale had the tweet either Saturday or Sunday that, barring a World Series berth or win, that Alex Cora is expected to be the next manager of the Philadelphia Phillies.
I don't see that one bit.
The roster makes a lot of sense for Cora,
but
because he prefers managing veterans.
Yeah, just I don't think he there, but I don't think he fits the vibe of that clubhouse or the city too, for that matter. And having lived there for 5 years, Philly has a certain vibe, and Cora. I mean that in the nicest way possible. Like,
for sure. No, I understand exactly what you mean.
Yeah, just I mean, the Mets seem like, Cora does like the spotlight, and New York provides that.
There's no brighter spotlight in the United States outside of maybe apparently Mickey Gasper just hit a homer. I need that. I need Mickey Gasper to not exist on the Red Sox.
Did you see his creepy goatee?
Yeah, yeah.
No bueno.
But I think the Mets make a lot of sense. I'm still not convinced that he's not going to be involved with the Red Sox in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not next season, and I think he will manage somewhere next season, potentially in New York, even though that situation looks bleaker than it did even when they fired their manager a few weeks ago. But I think it will probably be either the Mets or the Phillies, and it'll be really interesting to see kind of how he does in either one of those situations. I don't know. I can't think of any other. I mean, there will obviously be other firings, but I can't think of where they would be right now. I think what's his face with the Giants is probably on a bit of a hot seat, but I don't see Cora going to the Giants.
That's not his vibe.
No, and I don't think that he and Devers would gel anymore.
Again.
Yeah. I mean, if Dave Roberts retired, I think the Dodgers would make a lot of sense for him. Played there, obviously, but I don't know. I think out of the available jobs at the moment, and I'm not counting the Red Sox in the I'm not counting the Red Sox as an available job, but out of the available jobs at the moment, I think that those are the two that make the most sense.
And I don't see him coming back to the Red Sox as a manager, but maybe as a front maybe in the front office somewhere down the road. And if they went back to him, it would kind of be like going back to your ex that you shouldn't go back to. And Tracy's done a tremendous job filling in as an interim GM. And we haven't talked about this really on here, but Tracy, I think, deserves a shot at becoming the team's full-time manager, just removing the interim title, because he seems to really be meshing with the guys and just doing the right thing. There doesn't seem to be any drama there doesn't seem to be any drama anymore with the team as there was with Cora. I mean, Jarren Duran is still on the roster, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't see any way that Tracy isn't named full-time manager once we get to the off season. I kind of think that if it's right now, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Just let him play out this season on the interim tag. But I think that, I won't say he's a shoo-in for manager of the year. That's between him and Will Venable. But he's going to finish first or second in that. And I don't think that you can move on from a top of the voting pool manager. and what he did through the month of July and August with this team was nothing short of incredible. He really got them to buy in. So
I do wonder if they were talking about this in the broadcast just before the game started. Torey Lovullo, if he's let go, I wonder where he
that's the one name that I think that if he became available, that they would have some conversations about.
Yeah, but I mean, the Diamondbacks are still in the postseason race.
Yes, although Ketel Marte no-showed them at the ballpark tonight and was put on the restricted list. That's wild. That's crazy. So we'll see what happens with that. But
yeah, it's something to monitor.
Absolutely. So we have got another episode next week. We'll see what happens with this series with the Diamondbacks and then the Giants. And then we go into a stretch with the Marlins and the Yankees. We are in talks for maybe a guest on the next episode. We'll see kind of what happens with that. And I teased it for this week, and I had my schedule wrong, so it's potentially next week. So keep an ear out. As always, check out the website for some great articles. We've got some really good things coming down the pipe. And be on the forums to submit us questions. We had some great ones today. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we get next week. So thanks for listening to the Talk Sox podcast, and we will see you guys next week.